Part 20. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 191. Zhongning made a calculation for her and then asked, "Do you think it is more expensive to be a shuxiu from the 3 irons and 4 villages or to marry a scholar's sister?" Li was dumbfounded. It can't be calculated like that. Anyway, I have my own ideas and you have yours. I can't explain it to you. Please help me think about area and fugui first. What should I do? There is such a mother-in-law on the stall. I'm really going to be killed. Zhongning shook his head helplessly. Mom, Arya will have to wait 4 or 5 years before she gets married, let alone riches and honors. It's still early. What do you want to do now? It's really impossible to marry so far away at that time. If you marry far away, you still worry about not being able to avoid the Qian family. Ms. Li sighed and squeezed out 2 tears from the corners of her eyes. Why do you think these 2 children have such a miserable life? Zhongning chuckled. I think they are quite lucky. If they live under Qian's hands for the rest of their lives, it would be a miserable life. Li thought about it carefully, and it seemed that this was the case, and she figured it out after Zhongning talked about it. This side of Fukan. Since the inn was on the right track, Yang Erden asked Butler Zhu to hire a reliable accountant. He completely became a hands-off shopkeeper and focused exclusively on the workshop. Since successfully firing the first generation of new bricks, he has developed a keen interest in firing bricks and is committed to firing more high-quality bricks. Even tiles and floor tiles are within the scope of his research. To this end, he also found out about the workshops of many old masters and visited them one by one to ask for advice. He was concentrating on his work when Butler Zhu came in with a bundle and said, "Second young master, Madam has sent something." Yang Erden quickly stood up, took it, and opened it. There was a bag of silver and a letter in the bundle. In the letter, Zhongning briefly talked about what happened in Rongsha village, and explained the reason why he could not leave the village. Finally, he mentioned his marriage. The package of silver was used by Yang Erden to hire a matchmaker to prepare the betrothal gift. After reading the letter, Yang Erden raised the corner of his mouth slightly and asked Butler Zhu, "How do you invite an official mediator and how much money do you need?" "The second young master is getting engaged. Congratulations, I wonder which girl is so lucky," Butler Zhu congratulated her repeatedly. Yang Erden's mouth widened and he said, "She is Su Xiaokai's sister." Butler Zhu nodded in approval. Although the Su family's financial resources are a bit thin, Su Xiaokai is a promising person. Recently, many matchmakers have been asking about his marriage. "Oh, what's going on?" Seeing Yang Erden's curiosity, Butler Zhu said cheerfully, "It's not like Zhuangzi has produced 5 talents this time, and its reputation has been completely established. So many talents must be eye-catching, and matchmakers come here every day to inquire about the situation. 5 scholars. I know Sun Yuashan, Gong Haining, Hua Yongnian, and the scholar in white who came that day. It seems that Ren Zijun also passed the exam. Who is the other one?" Butler Zhu pointed to the other end of the inn and said, "The frail young man who lives in Bingding's guest room is not in good health. His name is Duan Wentao. He has been staying in seclusion since he moved into our inn, and all his food is provided by the waiter. You probably haven't seen him in the past. Even though Duan Xiaokai is in poor health, he is still a matchmaker." This time, Yang Erden really saw everyone's enthusiasm for scholars, and he immediately said, "Now that all the lists have come out, if a few scholars have not left the inn, give them some good food, so as not to. If I have enough food and accommodation for this period of time, I will go to the city to find the official media and buy some things. I will leave the recent affairs of Zhuangzi to you." Butler Zhu agreed seriously, and then asked the cook to prepare braised pork, roast chicken, fish, and duck soup. A total of 5 portions were prepared and delivered to the residences of several scholars. Ms. Jo was putting away shoe soles in the yard when she saw a servant coming with a food box. She quickly stepped forward to stop him. I didn't order food from the inn. Ms. Chu Zhang passed by the courtyard gate and said angrily, "Oh. It's really embarrassing that we are all talented ladies but they can't even afford this little thing. It's none of your business. Even if I can't afford it, so can my son." Scholar. Your son is nothing. Ms. Jo became angry and showed less and less dignity to Chu Zhang, and even learned to step on her sore spots. Ms. Chu and Zhang were furious. She rolled up her sleeves and wanted to confront Ms. Jo. The waiter hurriedly stopped him. "Don't argue, our boss has prepared this for a few scholars. The boss also said that all the food and lodging for these scholars will be included in the hotel during this period." "Why?" Ms. Chu Zhang's eyes widened, with a look of dissatisfaction. "Why do they have to pay the money if they can exempt us?" The waiter laughed angrily at Chu Zhang's question. "Madam, since our inn is open for business, we naturally have to collect money. The second young master has exempted you from living in Z1 because your young master and the third young master are classmates. Money, what else do you want? If your young master is admitted as a scholar this time, he will naturally receive the same treatment as Suzioki. After all, our inn always needs some gimmicks to attract business, don't you think?" Chu Zhang didn't care what was right or wrong, she was just angry and jealous. She snorted coldly and cursed, "A dog looks down on people. The inn will close down sooner or later." The waiter's face darkened. He returned to the inn with a straight face, and told butler Zhu about the matter. Z1 was previously occupied by several of Yang Santi's classmates. After the results were announced, except for the 3 people who were admitted as scholars and Qiu Tongsheng, they still lived there. The others had already returned as soon as possible. Qiu Tongsheng also wanted to leave, but Chu Zhang was unwilling to give in and kept making trouble. It seemed that they were at odds with the Su family. They would not leave unless the Su family left. Steward Zhu turned a blind eye before, but now Mr. Chu Zhang dares to curse the inn and he will never tolerate it. In the afternoon of the same day, butler Zhu brought 2 servants to Z1 and told Qiu Tongsheng what Chu Zhang said in front of everyone. Qiu Tongsheng's face turned blue and white. Butler Zhu said with a sly smile, "I have met countless people over the years, but this is the first time I have seen someone like your mother. She feels at ease and has no money to leave a house where other people live, and at the same time she curses the owner of the house. Do you think our second young master is easy to bully, or do you think this is a matter of course?" Qiu Tongsheng looked horrified. "Butler Zhu, I didn't mean that. I never thought my mother would say such a thing. It's all her fault. I will personally apologize to the second young master." Ms. Chu Zhang hid in her room when butler Zhu brought people over, not daring to see anyone at all. Butler Zhu waved his hand impatiently. "Forget it, this isn't the first time your mother has made trouble. Apologizing is useless. The main reason I came here is to tell you that there are some noble people coming to the inn. They are not short of money and want to stay here. The remaining courtyard in Z1 is not enough to live in. You are so considerate, you should be able to understand what I mean." Qiu Tongsheng was so embarrassed that he didn't know what to do. It took him a while to come back to his senses. He clenched his fists tightly and said, "I'll let my mother pack her luggage and move out today." Steward Zhu nodded with satisfaction and led the people away. Ms. Chu Zhang rushed out of the room and asked her son angrily, "What does he mean? Why should we leave when the next door has not left?" Qiu Tongsheng looked at her with a gloomy face. "Why did you get into trouble? Why do I have a mother who can't handle it as well as you?" Ms. Chu Zhang argued unconvincedly, "Who did I offend? It's obvious that they are just watching people order food. Why can't they say anything? If they still want to do business like this, bah." Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 192. That's enough. Wait until you pay back the accommodation money before you say anything like this again. Qiu Tongsheng turned around and went into the house to pack his luggage. Ms. Qiu Zhang followed her in and kept blocking her. You can't leave. We won't leave until the next door leaves, so we'll stay here. Qiu Tongsheng said expressionlessly, I want to keep you here, but I can't afford to lose face. Hey! I said you are really stupid at studying. How much is face worth? We have to pay for our own expenses when we go back now. We can save a lot by following them. Why don't you think about it? Ms. Qiu Zhang was so angry. Stomp your feet. Qiu Tongsheng suddenly looked at Ms. Qiu Zhang, with suppressed anger in his eyes. You all know this truth, why don't you have a good relationship with others? Now that you have offended everyone to death, you still have the nerve to go with them. Have you ever asked them what they mean? Have you agreed? Why don't we agree? We all came together, what's wrong with leaving together? I am me, you are you, and you didn't provoke them, why didn't they take you? Ms. Qiu Zhang said her fallacy confidently. Qiu Tongsheng felt tired and no longer wanted to talk to her. He simply packed up his things and strode out with his baggage on his back. Qiu and Zhang stopped him all the way. Sun Yuashan and the other three happened to see the scene when they came back. Hua Yongnian looked away and pretended not to see it. Gong Haining stepped forward and asked with concern, Brother Qiu, what are you doing? Qiu Tongsheng looked embarrassed. Qiu Zhang was angrily and told Butler Zhu about driving them away. Gong Haining did not think that Butler Zhu would do such a thing. He must have something hidden. He did not follow Qiu Zhang's words at the moment, but asked his entourage to inquire. Qiu Tongshen's expression changed slightly, and after a period of complex psychological activities, he finally reprimanded Qiu Zhang and informed them of the actual situation. My mother behaves like this. I really have no shame in staying here. Besides, I should have failed to be admitted as a scholar this time. Go back and continue studying hard, and come back in 2 years. When do you plan to go back? When Qiu Zhang heard the last sentence, she immediately looked at Gong Haining and the others, her eyes burning, and she was about to speak. Gong Haining then said with a smile, my father found some connections to let me study in Kuzhu Academy. I won't go back this time, and the same goes for brother Yongnian. In this way, only Sun Yuashan was left, and Qiu Tongshen was a little embarrassed. Sun Yuashan didn't have much reaction. He just said, I also want to stay in Fukan to study and won't go back for the time being. Ms. Qiu Zhang's face darkened, and she immediately said mockingly, huh? If you don't want to go with us, just say so. Who are you fooling? With your family's meager wealth, do you want to stay in Fukan and enjoy the northwest wind? You don't have to worry about this. The voice of the promise sounded behind everyone. Sun Yuashan turned around suddenly and frowned, why are you back so early? Sun Yian smiled and explained, I spent 4 taels of silver to buy a piece of land near Dongli Villa, and I stopped by today to get the land deed. He promised the land deed and soon received it in his arms. Let's go back to Anyang to discuss how to build a house. The second young master's workshop has bricks and tiles, and we can buy them from the second young master. The more he said the promise, the happier he became, and Qiu Zhang's face became more and more gloomy. Gong Haining and Hua Yongnian both congratulated the brothers and sisters. The 4 of them entered Z1 together and left the Qiu family mother and son in the same place. Qiu Tongsheng said nothing and strode away without looking back, carrying his luggage. Ms. Qiu Zhang had no choice now. She gnashed her teeth and stamped her feet, shouting, son, wait for me, I'll go pack my things. The Su brothers and sisters returned home. Sun Yuashan immediately closed the courtyard door and pulled Sun Yan into the house. Little sister, how can you be so bold and not even say a word about buying land? Sun Yuashan was really frightened, and his expression was particularly serious. Ms. Zhou didn't know why. She only found out what Sun Yian had done after seeing the land deed. She felt dizzy at the moment. You, I won't let you keep the city, so why don't you kill me first and then show off? You really have hard wings, I can't control you anymore. Sun Yian sighed helplessly. Auntie, brother, I'm really determined to stay here to make money, so don't say anything. Isn't the brother trying to find a way to enter Kishan Academy? If the brother goes in, we will be in the right place. Let's stay together in Fukan and have a companion. You said it's quite easy. Kishan Academy only accepts a few students every year. Those who can get in are either well connected at home or the proud ones of heaven. I don't have any connections, and I'm not the one with the best grades. It's not easy to get in. This matter seemed to weigh heavily on Sun Yuashan's heart. Sun Yian also fell silent at the moment. Mrs. Zhou couldn't get involved, so she looked at Sun Yian and said, let's not talk about your eldest brother. You, a girl, didn't even tell us about buying land. What if you are cheated? Sun Yian took Madame Zhou's arm flatteringly. I asked young Master Yang to help me buy it. How could I be deceived? Huh. Mrs. Zhou and Sun Yuashan looked at each other in surprise, and both looked at Sun Yian. Master Yang bought it for you. Didn't he say anything? Sun Yuashan asked tentatively. Sun Yian shook his head. When I was going out, I passed by the workshop and saw him working there. I went in and talked about our family's situation, and then asked him if he knew where the land nearby was cheap and safe. He said he would help me inquire about it, and there was news the next day. There was Xinghua village next to Dongli Villa. It used to be a village owned by a wealthy family. Later, something happened to the owner of the village, and the village was taken over by the government and later used to house refugees. The refugees settled there, and gradually it became what is now Xinghua village. All the villagers in the village have different surnames. We will not be excluded when we buy land and build houses there. This is not the case in other villages, which are more exclusive. More importantly, you have to go to the government office to buy the land in that village. 1 acre of wasteland costs 400 yuan. The government office said that if you buy the wasteland to build a house, you must buy a few more acres of good land to grow food. Otherwise, they won't buy it. 1 acre of good land costs 100 yuan. 2 taels of silver, 1.5 for paddy fields. I thought that since my eldest brother is a scholar now, we don't have to pay taxes on the food in our fields, so it doesn't matter if we buy a few acres of land, right? Sun Yuashan was speechless for a moment after hearing his sister's thoughts. Mrs. Zhou panicked. Yan, your idea is good, but have you ever thought about who will plant the land when our family buys it? It's okay for my mother to go fishing in the sea, but I really can't do it if you ask me to go to the fields with a hoe. Don't make a mess if the food isn't harvested by then. Sun Yuashan nodded seriously. Little sister, I can't do it either. Sun Yian let out a breath. I don't plan to let you go to the fields. Anyway, our land doesn't have to pay taxes. When the time comes, we can lease it to the villagers for farming, and our family will collect the rent, and we can also save money on buying food. Is it not good? Mrs. Zhou was helpless. It seems like you have thought of everything. Sun Yian nodded vigorously. I not only bought the land, but also ordered bricks and tiles from young Master Yang. Young Master Yang said that he was developing a kind of brick recently, but it has not been tested. I don't know how effective it is. He can use that brick. He gave us a room for free, and in exchange, I agreed to let him use the room for experiments, and I agreed. Ms. Zhou was so shocked that she took a long time to squeeze out a few words. You are really. It leaves people speechless, Sun Yuashan added. They can say Sun Yian is fooling around, but what can they do if Yang Erden starts fooling around with him? Admit it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 193. Sun Yian saw that the reason for her mother and brother's loose attitude turned out to be because of young Master Yang. She immediately said a lot of things that young Master Yang had done to help her. Young Master Yang will stay in Dongli Villa in the future. You must trust his character. If you can ask him for help if you need help, it's not like we're unfamiliar with the place, right? Mrs. Zhou and Sun Yuashan had their own thoughts and did not refute. Happier to make a promise. Early the next morning, she went out a little earlier than usual. As soon as she reached the gate of Zhuangzi, she saw Yang Erden sitting on a bullock cart. She suddenly looked surprised and asked, "Second young master, are you going out?" Yang Erden pointed to the ox cart and said, "I'm going into the city. Do you want Miss Su to come with me? Sit on it with a promise." On the way, she kept talking about how to convince her mother and eldest brother to let her stay in Fukan, and Yang Erden didn't even have a chance to interrupt. It wasn't until he was almost at Zhenbao Pavilion that he took advantage of the opportunity and asked, "What else does Miss Su like besides making hairpins?" Sun Yian was stunned for a moment, then thought carefully, "I still like my eldest brother to be successful." Yang Erden, I understand, please slow down. Soon after Sun Yian entered Zhenbao Pavilion, the shopkeeper brought out a face. "Miss Su, can you see if this face can be repaired?" Sun Yian took the thing and looked at it carefully, frowning. Why did such a precious emerald phoenix hairpin break? The shopkeeper looked distressed. That's right. It's said that the old lady of the Zhou family accidentally dropped the phoenix hairpin in anger. The old lady was so distressed that Mr. Zhou immediately had someone send it over. Can it be repaired today? Let me take a look. Sun Yian didn't dare to overestimate it. He checked it carefully and found that the crack was on the edge, not that the gemstone was cracked, so he took the job. About an hour later, Sun Yian had just finished repairing Feng Chai when the shopkeeper came in to ask. She hurriedly put the things into the brocade box. Be careful, it's best to wait 2 days before using them. The shopkeeper carefully checked it and found that the cracks on the hairpin were really gone. He immediately smiled and said, "Miss Su's craftsmanship is really incredible." He took out the things and offered them with both hands. "Master Zhou, I have asked you to wait for a long time. Are you satisfied with the repair of this phoenix hairpin?" Mr. Zhou did not have high expectations, but the result surprised him. He stared at Feng Chai carefully for a long time, and a glint flashed in his eyes. "Which master's craft is this?" The shopkeeper chuckled and said, "It's Zhenyang from our Zhenbao Pavilion." "Can I meet you?" Mr. Zhou's attitude was very sincere. This shopkeeper is in a bit of a dilemma. Mr. Zhou immediately took out 2 taels of silver from his arms. The shopkeeper had to shout out the promise. Sun Yian thought there was something wrong with Feng Chai, but he didn't expect Mr. Zhou to read a bunch of praising poems when he saw the girl dressed up. At the end, he stared at her lovingly. Has the girl ever been married? Sun Yian's expression changed and he felt a little embarrassed. The shopkeeper then knew Mr. Zhou's purpose and hurriedly said, "Mr. Zhou, Miss Su is not from the city, she is just here for a short time." Mr. Zhou became even happier when he heard this, and said loudly, "That's just right. The girl has no relatives here. Although I, Mr. Zhou, have no wealth, I still have some strength to protect the girl from the wind and rain." The shopkeeper was so worried that he was sweating profusely. He couldn't afford to offend the Zhou family. He promised that he didn't want to offend the Zhou family, but for a moment he had no idea. Sun Yian saw Mr. Zhou looking like he was determined to win, and the shopkeeper had no choice, so his heart suddenly sank. At this moment, Yang Erden came in carrying something. "Miss Su." Sun Yian seemed to have seen his savior and ran over quickly. "Second young master." Mr. Zhou squinted his eyes and looked at Yang Erden with hostility. When he saw that he was wearing ordinary clothes, He immediately became more contemptuous. Master. Which young master is dressed like this? Miss Su can't be deceived. Yang Erden frowned, subconsciously not liking Mr. Zhou. What does my family's situation have to do with you? It's not your turn to point fingers. The shopkeeper was so frightened when he saw Mr. Zhou's face darkening that he hurriedly asked, Sir, do you want to buy something? Yang Erden's eyes fell on the shopkeeper. He nodded slightly, and then asked Sun Yan, Miss Su, what jewelry do you like? Sun Yan had a question mark on his face. Yang Erden cupped his hands towards her and said bluntly, Brother Ling proposed marriage to me that day. I rode home and asked my mother-in-law. She agreed, but she had something to do at home and couldn't leave, so she sent me some money. Let me invite the official media to come to propose marriage, and the girl can choose whatever she likes. Sun Yan was stunned for a moment, weighed the current situation, decisively made a shy look, and nodded slightly. Mr. Zhou was furious. Okay. Very good. I want to see who dares to steal a woman from me. Sun Yan's face turned a little pale, and he didn't know if Yang Erden could withstand it. The shopkeeper was also very worried. Yang Erden just narrowed his eyes and asked, Who are you? Mr. Zhou felt extremely humiliated by asking about his family background just now, but he still calmly reported to his family, Zhou Hao of the Zhou family in Kuzhou Prefecture. The shopkeeper added from the side, the Zhou family is a famous big family in Kuzhou, and their business is huge. Yang Erden suddenly asked, How does the Zhou family compare with the Zhou family? The Zhou family? Are you talking about the dean's family of Kuzhou Academy? The shopkeeper couldn't help but take a breath of air and looked at Yang Erden with a little more respect. Zhou Hao looked stunned. Impossible. The Zhou family is a scholarly family. No matter how you look at it, it is impossible to have anything to do with the Zhou family. Having said that, Zhou Hao retreated in his heart. This person is really related to the Zhou family. He has hit the iron wall today. No matter how powerful a businessman is, he can't fight with the officials. Yang Erden shook his head. I didn't say I was from the Zhou family. My family is just an ordinary farmer's family. Before Zhou Hao could breathe a sigh of relief, he heard Yang Erden continue to say, It's just that my mother was granted the imperial title and became MRSMWI. Miss Su just gave me some face and called me young master. In fact, she really not much of a young master. The shopkeeper was completely frightened. Who is MRSMWI? That was a heroine that everyone knew about in Kuzhou Prefecture. The taro she discovered saved many poor people. There were many places where she was given a golden body to worship. She was a strange woman that even the prefect wanted to treat with courtesy. If Yang Erden is really the son of MRSMWI, wouldn't Zhou Hao offend MRSMWI? This is worse than offending the Zhou family. After all, businessmen value reputation when doing business. If the reputation is bad, all business will be ruined, and the Zhou family will not be far away from collapse. Zhou Hao was also shocked by Yang Erden's identity and turned pale. He subconsciously looked at the shopkeeper, but saw that the shopkeeper lowered his head and did not dare to say a word. At this moment, Yang Santi and several students from Kuzhou Academy ran in and said, Second brother, it's really you. I thought I saw it wrong. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 194. Yang Erden turned his head and said, Lao San, why are you here? Yang Santi pointed to the people around him. I went out to hang out with them. Grandpa Zhong asked me to stay in the academy to study, but I think Mr. Ming is also very good. There is also the fourth child there to keep me company. I don't want to let go of my business, so I think it's better to go back, while I'm still in Fukan, so I don't have to look around too much. Others raised their hands to Yang Erden and said, Second young master. Yang Erden greeted them one by one, and the group of people talked, completely forgetting about Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao lost all his temper at this moment. Before Yang Erden could tell the story about the dispute between them, he immediately took out a bag of money from his arms and handed it to Sun Yian. Misunderstandings are all misunderstandings. In fact, I saw the girl's amazing craftsmanship and fell in love with her talent. Since she has no intention of doing so, I asked her to accept the money as a thank you gift. After saying that, he looked at Yang Erden again, with a very low attitude. Second young master, I won't bother you today. I will pay you a visit when I have the opportunity another day. I'll take my leave now. As soon as Zhou Hao left, Yang Santi watched him disappear before putting away his playful expression. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Did he make things difficult for you just now?" Yang Erden shook his head, "It doesn't matter, I can handle it." Yang Santi nodded, "Okay, I'll leave first. If you have anything to do, go to Yangta restaurant to find me. Brother Gong and Brother Hua are waiting for me there. I'll leave first." As soon as he walked out, he turned back and looked at Sun Yian. "Brother Su, do you want to study in Kishan Academy?" Sun Yian nodded subconsciously. I know, this time Yang Santi really ran away without looking back. The promise is a bit confusing. There are 3 of them left in the store. The shopkeeper was still nervous about entertaining Yang Erden. Sun Yian thanked Yang Erden, "Thanks to the second young master today, otherwise I don't know how I could have escaped." "Do you often encounter this kind of thing here?" Yang Erden asked. The shopkeeper was frightened to death and hurriedly explained, No, today was really an accident. The Emerald Phoenix hairpin Mr. Zhou sent was very valuable. Miss Su repaired it. I thought Mr. Zhou wanted to thank Miss Su before asking Su. The girl showed up, but she never expected that he had evil intentions. Fortunately, the second young master arrived in time. "Miss Su, I promise you, this will never happen again. Promise that there will be no near misses and earn a bag of silver," so naturally he won't say anything. Yang Erden saw that she would not pursue the matter and would not interfere. Instead, he talked about their marriage. Sun Yian's cheeks turned red. Since she had just agreed, she would not go back on her word. The shopkeeper hurriedly asked them to go to the second floor to choose. Sun Yian couldn't help but smile when he saw the hairpin on the shelf, pointed at it and said, "I made this. You can buy it if you like it." Yang Erden didn't have any extra words, he just said everything to the point. Sun Yian looked around and chose a silver hairpin and a pair of bracelets. Yang Erden looked at it and chose another gilt pearl hairpin. The shopkeeper didn't dare to make any money at all, so he gave the lowest price, a total of 30 taels. After Yang Erden left, he returned to the backyard with Sun Yian, but he couldn't calm down to do anything. What happened today was such a coincidence. Just like that, her marriage was decided. In a daze, the shopkeeper asked the waiter to bring her some snacks, and his attitude towards her was very respectful. Sun Yian came back to his senses and the corners of his mouth rose unconsciously. Although this marriage came a bit suddenly, it seemed to be a good choice. Yang Erden bought something and took the official media back to Dongli Villa. Official media personally approached Mrs. Zhou to propose marriage. Although the preparations were a little hasty, there was no shortage of everything. The surprise came so suddenly that Mrs. Zhou almost agreed directly. Fortunately, at the critical moment, she remembered that Sun Yian didn't know about the marriage, so she gritted her teeth and said, "I'll think about it." The official media was stunned for a moment. "Mrs. Su, that's Mrs. Mui's family. There are many girls who can't get married even if they want to, but you still want to consider it." Mrs. Zhou was afraid that the official media would think she was ungrateful, so she had to explain, "I haven't let my girl know about this yet, I have to tell her first." The official media was instantly happy. "Your lady already knows, she chose these things herself, and they are in the Zhenbao pavilion." Then the official media briefly talked about what had just happened. Mrs. Jo was so frightened that she had no time to think about it and immediately agreed to the marriage. After the two families exchanged gengtai, the engagement was finalized, and the next step was to choose an auspicious day to get married. Mrs. Jo sent the official matchmaker away, feeling happy and worried at the same time. When the two children came back, Mrs. Jo quickly asked Sun Yan what happened today. Sun Yuashan was also frightened into a cold sweat and patted his chest with great joy. Fortunately, I mustered up the courage to talk to brother Chang Lin that day. If the Yang family doesn't agree to this marriage, I'm afraid we won't be able to fight against the Zhou family. Sun Yan clenched his fists holding back his anger. If he knew that his brother was a scholar, he might be a little jealous, but in this case, it would be difficult for him to stay in Kuzhu Academy. With no connections in the first place, and having offended a big local family, even a scholar would have a difficult time, and she was afraid that she would not be able to do her job in Zhenbao Pavilion. Mrs. Jo silently chanted the sutra, "Fortunately, okay, no danger, words are a blessing in disguise. Everyone knows that our family is married to the Yang family, so this kind of thing should never happen again in the future." That's what she said, but Mrs. Jo was still worried when she looked at Sun Yan's face. Sun Yan took out the bag of silver and said, "Here are 50 taels. It is an apology from Mr. Jo." He also said it bluntly that he was interested in my craftsmanship rather than my appearance. "Brother Anyang, don't worry. I will be careful when I go out in the future." She handed the 50 taels to Sun Yuashan. "Thanks to the second young master today, this money should be given to him, because I can't do this in Zhenbao Pavilion. Please go to the workshop and give him the money." Sun Yuashan nodded and immediately took the money and went out. Yang Erden was kneading mud, looking miserable. When he saw Sun Yuashan coming over, he immediately wiped his hands and stood up. "Brother Su." Sun Yuashan looked at the mud curiously. Yang Erden explained, "Trying the recipe of bricks, trying to bake a brick that is stronger than green bricks in the next few days. Miss Su has already told me about your family's house renovation, and I happen to be building another one here. A group of people will take over the work, and when the time comes, it will be your family's job." "Thank you very much," Sun Yuashan bowed solemnly. "Thanks to you for taking care of us, mother and son, during these days in Fukan. If it weren't for you today, my sister would have been unable to escape." Yang Erden waved his hand. "Miss Su and I are engaged, and we will be a family from now on. There is no need to be so outspoken. It is my duty to protect her." Sun Yuashan was in a good mood and took out the bag of silver. "Although we are a family, my sister-in-law has not yet come to the house, so she cannot blatantly take advantage of you. This is what Mr. Jo gave me, so I should give it to you." Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 195. Yang Erden naturally knew where the money came from, and immediately frowned and refused to accept it. That was given by Zhou Hao to Miss Su. "I know that Miss Su repaired Zhou Hao's things. This is both an apology and a thank you gift. It is not mine. If Brother Su insists on giving it to me, I will have to give it back to Miss Su. It's not safe for a woman to carry so much money with her." Yang Erden said he wanted nothing. Sun Yuashan really had no choice. Sun Yan saw his eldest brother and came back. Not only did he not give out the money, but he also brought back a food box. He was speechless. Mrs. Jo was also a little confused. Sun Yuashan was about to cry but had no tears. "I want to give money, but Chang Lin says he doesn't want anything, and he's looking for trouble to fool me. It's so confusing that it's like this." Sun Yan looked at Madame Jo and said, "Auntie, I think my eldest brother has become stupid in reading. This can't go on like this." Mrs. Jo nodded seriously. "Indeed. How can you not give something to someone else but not give it away but take it away instead? Really?" Ms. Jo was so angry that she didn't know what to say. Sun Yuashan felt even more guilty. What should I do now? I'll send it off again. Sun Yan couldn't laugh or cry, and then bring some things back. Sun Yuashan did not dare to say anything for a moment. Mrs. Zhou sighed, forget it. Since Changlin doesn't want to say that, just keep it as dowry. Anyway, you two will live together and use the money together. Yes, yes, Niang is right. Sun Yuashan hurriedly made amends, but was rejected by his mother and sister again. Sun Yan went back to his room and took out some broken silver. Mom, here are the 8 taels of silver that I saved to build a house. I will give it to the second young master first. If there is not enough, I will make up for it. Originally, the two of them agreed that Yang Erden would build a house for the Su family for free, and the Su family agreed to let him experiment. Now that they are engaged, she feels embarrassed if she doesn't pay. Mrs. Zhou nodded repeatedly, I want to give you money. Your agreement cannot count at all. If your future mother-in-law knew about it, she would think we were taking advantage of Changlin. Yang Erden was helpless when he saw Mrs. Zhou coming to give the money, but the elder insisted on giving it. He really couldn't deal with it like he did with Sun Yuashan, so he could only accept the money. The next day, he asked Butler Zhu to go to Fukan to find 2 old masters, one named Chen and the other named Zhang. Master Chen and Master Zhang each had 3 apprentices. They were all famous old craftsmen in Fukan. Yang Erden followed. They sat down for a chat and immediately decided to work with them for a long time. From now on, all the work that Yang Erden takes over will be done by 2 masters. When the 2 masters build houses for others, they can buy bricks and stones from him and get interest. The 2 masters had seen the inn and were quite confident in the bricks made by Yang Erden. However, they had not tested it themselves, so they were still a little uneasy. Yang Erden immediately took them to the Su family's homestead. Master Chen looked at the surrounding environment and muttered, the terrain here is relatively high, but we are close to the sea, and there are hurricanes every summer. In severe cases, even the entire fishing village is wiped out. The second young master is our local, you should have seen it before. Yang Erden shook his head honestly, no. My hometown is in Ping'an County, which is some distance from the seaside, and our village is surrounded by mountains. Even if a hurricane comes, the wind will not be strong where we are. That's great, Master Chen sighed. Master Zhang then said, nowadays, fishermen on the seaside use stones to build their houses if they can afford it. Rich people in the city who live in blue brick houses and courtyards also use stones to lay foundations, which are waterproof. After all, blue bricks are not as waterproof as stone strips. Even poor families will use stones to build the foundation. I think the second young master's inn uses stone strips to build the foundation. Yang Erden really didn't pay attention to this. After all, an inn is different from a house. The master who came to build it at that time was an expert and he listened to what others said. He didn't expect this to be the reason. Seeing that he was confused, the 2 old masters taught him a lot about the local house building techniques. Yang Erden wrote them down one by one. Finally, it was decided that the Su family's house would be built with stone slabs as the foundation, and I just used 8 taels of silver to buy the stone slabs. The old master knew a powerful quarryman and introduced him to Yang Erden. The group of people discussed and spent 10 days building the foundation of the Su family. At this time, Jiangning, who was far away in Rongsha village, also started to be busy. Last year, the experimental fields were washed away by floods. She only had time to rescue part of them, because the wild yams left were not very big, so she did not harvest them. Instead, she transplanted some from the mountains and filled them in, treating dead horses as live ones. Doctor, the weather is going well this year, and the things she has worked so hard to plant can finally be accepted. In order to confirm the growth of wild yams, she personally dug a hole in the field with a hoe. As soon as she entered, she saw a snake emerging from the dense vines. She was so frightened that she screamed and ran 2 miles away. There is no choice but to ask the village chief for help and recruit some people to work. All the strong laborers in the village went out to build houses after the autumn harvest, leaving only middle-aged and elderly people. When the village chief came over, he thought something big had happened. When he heard that he was digging the ground, he immediately went to help with a hoe. When we arrived at the destination, the village chief was surprised. "Big head Mother Hummer, I wanted to ask you what you planted in this land before. From last year to this year, I didn't see you taking care of it. I just asked people to apply some fertilizer occasionally. How did it grow, like this? The vines have collapsed. Oh my God, how can we harvest such thick vines? Not to mention they are densely packed with fruits." Zhang couldn't say anything at the side. After the village chief finished speaking, she smiled and shook her head. "I don't want any. I want the stuff below, just like the taro, just don't dig it up." The village chief was stunned for a moment, nodded, and while cutting off the vines, he felt sorry for the fruit pods and muttered something in his mouth. Finally a ridge of land was cleared, and many people from the village came to help. Under Zhang Ning's gesture, the village chief carefully dug a hole, and what he dug out shocked a group of people. "Big head lady, this is your newly discovered food." Mrs. Lu looked at Zhang Ning eagerly. Zhang Ning nodded slightly. "This stuff can be eaten as food, but you can't eat it every day. It's good to eat it every 3 or 5 times. The village chief went crazy with joy when he heard that it could be used as food. He didn't care about anything else. He quickly called on the people around him to help dig. He was even more interested than Zhang Ning. With everyone's help, an acre of yams was dug out. The village chief asked someone to get a weighing rod and weigh the baskets in front of the villagers. In the end, the total amount was about 3 tons, and the yield per mu was about the same as that of taro. The village chief realized the seriousness of the matter and immediately sent someone to the county government to report it. The next day, Xia Yuchen led 50 or 60 people into Rongsha village. Except for officials, all of them came to help with the work. The fields used for experiments in Zhangning are relatively scattered. Some of them are fertile fields, some are newly opened wastelands some distance away from water sources, and some are wastelands at the foot of Qingfeng Mountain that are close to water sources. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 196. Everyone is busy working. Xia Yuchen was busy recruiting people to ask Zhang Ning to popularize wild yam knowledge, looking open-minded and eager to learn. Zhang Ning had already prepared and brought up a plate of ruyi cake. Everyone has eaten the ruyi cake made by my family. Many people want to know the recipe and try it themselves, but they can't make it. This is the reason. Xia Yuchen suddenly asked, "Mrs. Mui means that it is the ingredient of ruyi cake." Zhang Ning nodded slightly. "I also found it accidentally in the mountains. I don't know what it is called. My family was too poor at the time, so I was interested in anything that could hold my belly. That's why I came up with this trial. After my own observation, this food can fill the stomach, but it is not suitable for eating every day. It can be eaten in exchange for taro and other grains. Also, some people's hands will itch when they touch the mucus in it." Xia Yuchen wrote vigorously, wishing to write down every word Zhang Ning said. By evening, all the yams were harvested. Gao Yongzhen reported, "Sir, the yield of fertile land is about 3 tons per mu. According to Mrs. Mui, part of it was planted last year and replanted this year, mixed together. The newly reclaimed wasteland at the foot of Qingfeng Mountain has a yield of 1.5 tons per mu. It was just planted this year. The yield of the other wasteland is 1 ton 2 per mu. After seeing it, the old farmers in the village said that fertile land has the best harvest, but wasteland can also be planted, which is really good. Xie Yuchen immediately asked Zhang Ning what he meant, and took away some of the wild yam and the ruyi cake made by Zhang Ning. Zhang Ning knew that Xie Yuchen could take credit again this time. From taro, wild yam, and pankong, his political achievements in the past 2 years were enough for him to be promoted to another 2 levels. It is estimated that the magistrate of Ping'an County will be replaced next year. Fortunately, she is now MRSMui, and with the addition of wild yam this time, she may still get some benefits. Even if Ping'an County changes to the county magistrate, it will not have a big impact on her. Xie Yuchen was very fast, so he ordered people to work hard and divide the things into 2 parts. One part was sent to Fukan, and the other part was sent to the capital. Ji Wei, the newly appointed magistrate of Kuzhu, saw the visitor. He first learned about the situation and learned that it was related to Shirji and MRSMui. He immediately went through the things carefully, tasted the ruyi cake, and went there in person that day. To Dongli Villa. Every move of the prefect was watched by people. He mobilized troops and led a large group of people to Dongli Villa, which immediately attracted everyone's attention. Even Zhong Bohan received the news. Ji Wei didn't care about so much. When he arrived at Dongli Villa and saw Yuran Inn, he immediately praised it so much that Butler Zhu was stunned. Ji Wei visited Yuran Inn all over before asking, "I heard that second young master Yang is in Fukan." Butler Zhu replied in surprise, "Sir, my second young master is indeed in Fukan, but today he led people to build a house. I will ask someone to find the second young master." "No, no. The second young master is busy with business, so don't bother me. I just came here to take a look today, and I asked the second young master to say hello to MRSMui on my behalf." Ji Wei walked around once he came over, drank a cup of tea, said a few words, and left. Leave housekeeper Zhu and a group of 2-foot-long monks scratching their heads. Zhu-san asked anxiously, "Steward, our second young master has been in Fukan for so long and he still hasn't seen the prefect say anything. Is the sun rising from the west today?" Butler Zhu frowned, "I don't know. The magistrate mentioned Madam. It seems that we have to ask Madam about this matter. You go find the second young master." As soon as Ji Wei's people walked out, Zhou Hao of the Zhou family couldn't sit still and sent 3 waves of people one after another, one to Zhenbao Pavilion, one to Dongli Villa, and another to Kuzhu Academy. Zhong Bohan was giving Yang Santi an academic test, and the housekeeper brought the things in. Zhong Bohan frowned, "What's the matter?" The housekeeper was sweating coldly. "Sir, Master Zhou of the Zhou mansion sent 2 boxes of unique copies, one to you and one to Mr. Yang. This is out of season, and there are no other circumstances. Could it be that young Master Zhou is crazy?" Zhong Bohan couldn't understand. The only copy was no better than the others. It could be treasured as an heirloom. Zhou Hao sent 2 boxes as a gift. Is it possible? The Zhou family is gone? The housekeeper was trembling. "I don't even know. People from the Zhou family have been begging for it, and they also said that the master and young master Yang must accept it. I wonder if it has something to do with the prefect's personal visit to Dongli Villa." Zhong Bohan looked at Yang Santi. "Why did the magistrate come to your house?" Yang Santi's eyes revealed clear sincerity. "I don't know, I swear. But I know why Zhou Hao gave me something." He told Zhong Bohan what happened in Zhenbao Pavilion that day. Zhong Bohan laughed angrily. "The eldest young master of the Zhou family actually dares to rob a girl in the street. He is very capable." Yang Santi comforted him. "Grandpa Zhong, don't be angry. My second brother and I had scared him away that day. He even gave a bag of silver to Sister Sue. He was probably frightened by the magistrate's actions, so he panicked. Who cares? After giving away so many things, since the Zhou family wants to give it, we can keep it with peace of mind." My second brother and I don't intend to pursue it anymore anyway. Grandpa Zhong, that is a unique copy. There is no such store after passing this village. Zhong Bohan was amused. He was not a pedantic person. He asked the housekeeper to bring the things in, and the old man and the young began to divide the spoils. Sun Yan in the Zhenbao pavilion saw the small box presented respectfully by the shopkeeper and thought it was another valuable piece of jewelry that needed to be repaired. He was about to put it on for inspection. But the shopkeeper said cautiously, "Miss Su, this is the reward given to you by Master Zhou. He said that the emerald phoenix hairpin you repaired last time was very good." Mrs. Zhou was very happy. Sun Yan was dumbfounded. Didn't he already give me a bag of silver? I don't need any more remuneration from him. Why is it related to young Master Zhou? Sun Yan frowned subconsciously. The shopkeeper immediately begged, "Miss Su, just accept it." Master Zhou said that the phoenix hairpin is of great significance to Mrs. Zhou, and he just bought a lot of valuable jewelry outside, and he also covers all the jewelry you made. Yes, I have to pay you extra. He hasn't given up yet. Sun Yan turned pale in horror. The shopkeeper was stunned for a moment and shook his head repeatedly. No, 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 the people from the Zhou family respect you very much and wish they could take you as an aunt. How could young Master Zhou still not give up? In fact, young Master Zhou just wants to ask, can you forgive him for his unintentional offense last time? It took Sun Yan a long time to digest what the shopkeeper said, and he was happy. I don't care about it a long time ago. Besides, I'm already engaged, so I don't want to mention it. That's just right, this box is a congratulatory gift from Master Zhou to you and Master Yang. Looking at the attitude of the shopkeeper, she has no choice but to accept these things today. Sun Yan guessed that it had something to do with Yang Erden, so he could only keep the things temporarily. As soon as Yang Erden returned to Zhuangzi, Butler Zhu told him about the arrival of the magistrate. At the same time, he presented to Yang Erden the congratulatory gifts sent by wealthy families in the city, among which the Zhou family was the most prominent. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 197. Yang Erden had blue veins bulging on his forehead and frowned. "Send them all back, we don't need them." Butler Zhu hesitated a little. "Second young master, I think this matter may have something to do with Madam. Do you want to write a letter to ask Madam what she means before making a decision?" Before Yang Erden could answer, Yang Santi ran back like the wind. Second brother, look at what good things I got today." "Huh? What are these? Is there a happy event at the inn today?" Steward Zhu explained the situation again. Yang Santi nodded. "I really need to tell Anayang. These people are probably here for Anayang. I don't know if Anayang has cooked up something earth-shattering again. I just want to go back to. I asked my mother, second brother, I will leave the villa to you, and Grandpa Zhong agrees to find a husband for brother Su, and he can stay in Kuzhu Academy to study." Yang Erden knew that Yang Santi must have contributed to this matter, and he looked grateful. "Second brother owes you a favor, just say whatever you want." Yang Santi waved his hand. "Come on. In terms of money, you don't have as much money as I do. I don't want to empty your wallet. Now go pack your bags and go home. Let's go." Yang Santi said that wind is like rain, but he really made people prepare for it. As soon as he left, Sun Yan came over to find Yang Erden with the box in his arms. "The eldest young master of the Zhou family sent it to Zhenbao Pavilion today. At first he said it was for me as a reward, but I didn't want it, and then he said it was a thank you gift for me. I don't want it either. I'll just say it's a gift for our engagement later and shamelessly ask me to accept it and give it to you." "What is it?" Yang Erden frowned, opened it and found 2 sets of gold heads and noodles inside the box, estimated to cost several hundred taels of silver. Sun Yan couldn't help but cover her mouth. Oh my god. He, he. How could he give such a valuable thing? Yang Erden opened other things Zhou Hao sent to show her. He gave me an antique worth several thousand taels. Promise. In this situation, it was difficult for them to send the Zhou family's things back alone. They could only wait for Zhang Ning's wishes. Yang Santi was eager to return home, and set out the next day under the full moon. This time he chose to take a boat, which was much faster. As soon as I entered Ping'an County, I heard everyone talking about the new grain. I randomly asked someone to ask about it, and I immediately found out about it. Yang Santi was overjoyed and immediately hired a carriage to rush back to Rongsha village. These days, many wealthy squires visited Zhang Ning's home. She was so annoyed that she simply hid in the mountains. The uncle guarding the village entrance saw the carriage and thought it was coming to Zhang Ning again. He immediately said, "Mrs. Mui, I went to the mountains to collect mushrooms and is not at home. If you have anything to say, you can tell me. The old man will convey it to you." Yang Santi jumped down from the carriage. "Grandpa Chi, it's me, Santi. Yo, the triathlon is back, great." The uncle was overjoyed and urged him to go back quickly. With no one at home, Yang Santi turned around and immediately ran to Qingfeng Mountain. When Mrs. Li saw him, she was so excited that she pulled him tightly and did not let go. She kept asking about the situation in Fukan. Yang Santi Qianliang spoke briefly and asked anxiously, "Grandma, where is my grandma?" Mrs. Li laughed heartily, "We're going up the mountain." "We came down." After shouting twice, Yang Santi shouted at the top of his voice. After a while, Zhang Ning entered the workshop with a basket on his back. "You're the only one coming back." Yang Santi rubbed her over affectionately. "I miss my grandma. My second brother is not as considerate as me, he hasn't come back." Zhang Ning couldn't help but poked his head. "How dare you put eye drops on your second brother? He's very capable. Anayang, let's go home, I have something to tell you." "What a coincidence, I have something to ask you too." The mother and son teased each other and left, leaving all the workers confused. Ms. Lu blinked and said, "Why do I feel like these two don't look like mother and son, but more like siblings?" "Don't tell me. I feel the same way. And Ning is getting younger and younger now. When I'm with her, I'm almost like her mother." Mrs. Zhang touched her face, worried, which attracted everyone laughed. As soon as Yang Santi returned home, he immediately closed the courtyard door and showed all the money he had brought. "Auntie, I earned it by selling paper. The 500 taels from the princess are big heads, which is considered a reward. Mian helps me sell them. I paid 300 taels and confiscated my money. Later, I sold a batch of goods myself and earned 150 taels. The total is 950 taels. You can calculate the capital and leave the rest to me. Aren't you afraid of suffering a loss?" Zhang Ning looked at him funny. Yang Santi shook his head and sighed maturely. "This trip to Fukan opened my eyes. It's true that everyone is inferior in everything but good at studying. I worked hard, but in the end I was not as capable as a little girl Mian. There is also the second brother, he has done nothing, just because of my mother-in-law. The gifts sent by the rich families in the city are more than 1,000 taels smaller than mine. If I want to make a lot of money, I have to study hard." Zhang Ning's expression changed and she looked at him seriously. "I didn't ask you to study so that you could get ahead and make money. If you have such thoughts, you'd better come back to me as soon as possible to avoid getting angry." Yang Santi hurriedly explained, "Auntie, that's not what I meant. What I meant is that if I stand out and have my own connections, I will do business and make money in the future and people will support me because of my face. It's better than asking for help everywhere. I don't have it. We are not that kind of people who want to make money." Zhang Ning's expression softened a little, and she really started to calculate seriously. She didn't take the 500 taels of bounty given by the princess, and only took the rest of the money. The total was 250 taels, leaving 7 or 8 taels for Yang Santi. She was not going to accept the 700 taels, so she asked Yang Santi to keep it himself. Yang Santi was so happy that he put away the money before talking about the situation in Fukan. Zhang Ning muttered, "Since I have already given it as a gift, returning it now will make us look disrespectful and easy to offend others. Let your second brother do the accounting. If someone has something to do in the future, I will return the gift." Butler Zhu has such things as worldliness at his fingertips. It's not a big deal. Yang Santi immediately went to reply to the letter, stayed at home for a day, packed a bunch of food from Zhangning, and took away a box of rice paper before hurried back to Mapo. When Mr. Ming and He Zioki and Lin Zioki saw him coming back, they immediately asked about the situation in Fukan, and more about Wild Yam. Yang Santi was a little surprised. "You also know? My brother said it?" Mr. Ming laughed and said, "Silly boy, your brother has not been home for a long time, how could he know these things? You have forgotten that Mr. Xie is a frequent visitor to our academy. How could he not say anything about such a big thing? If this thing just like Zionjao, Mrs. Mui has made another great contribution. There are not many strange women in history. I never thought that I would meet one in my lifetime. How lucky." Yang Santi did not expect Mr. Ming to speak so highly of Zhangning. He was flattered and immediately sealed the tea-scented rice paper made by Zhangning. "Sir, this is my grandma's new rice paper. Even the princess likes it. Take a look. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over." Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 198. Mr. Ming has long known that the rice paper Zhangning sells is made by herself. This is something he particularly admires about Zhangning. Now when he heard that Zhangning had come up with a new gadget, he immediately became interested. When Yang Santi brought the tea-scented rice paper, a strong aroma of tea filled the room, and the three of them closed their eyes and took a deep breath. "The fragrance of tea is really overflowing," He Zioki exclaimed, opened his eyes, looked at the rice paper carefully, and saw that there were some fragments of tea leaves on it, which were already integrated with the paper, elegant and novel. Mr. Ming couldn't put it down and immediately said, "Make a price, I'll take it." Yang Santi was panicked. "Sir, this is my special honor to you. I don't dare to accept money. Besides, I don't know how to sell this paper." Mr. Ming immediately saw the little juju in Yang Santi's heart. He smiled helplessly, shook his head, and muttered, "1 tael of tea leaves and 1 tael of gold. Use this paper to write, and at the same time taste the fragrance of the tea. In my opinion, a roll of 2 taels of silver is also available." "Thank you for clarifying my doubts, sir." Yang Santi immediately thanked him perversely and exited with a playful smile. Hence, someone will come to buy something without him having to step forward. Yang Sizhuang saw that Yang Santi seemed to be a different person after going out, so he couldn't help but ask, "Did the third brother miss anything when he went to Fukan?" Yang Santi raised his chin proudly, "Let's discuss it and we'll find out." Yang Sizhuang nodded excitedly. The two of them went back and forth. Yang Sizhuang found that Yang Santi not only did not fall behind in his homework but also made some progress after going out. He couldn't help but feel envious. "Congratulations, third brother." Yang Santi didn't take it seriously and gave him 100 taels. "Third brother knows you are poor, so take the flowers." Yang Sizhuang opened his wallet and was shocked, "So much? Third brother, are you rich?" Yang Santi did not hide anything from him and told everything that happened in Fukan. Yang Sizhuang was even more envious. "I will go to Fukan after I pass the county examination." "Ha ha ha ha, that's what Grandpa Zhong told me too." After Yang Santi finished speaking, he asked, "I haven't seen my nephew yet, come with me to Songzi town another day." Before Yang Santi could find time to go to Songzi town, the imperial edict arrived first. Yang Santi and Yang Data received the news in advance and rushed back to Rongsha village with their families. It was Dekang, a popular man beside the emperor, who announced the decree. Even the prefect Ji Wei came to Ping'an County, and Yang Erden went with the Su family. A group of officials entered Rongsha village in a mighty manner. The villagers were excited and in awe. They all stood at a distance and stared in this direction without blinking. Dekang happily looked at the woman kneeling in front of him, with a look of wonder on his face. By God, the emperor issued an edict. Mrs. Yang Zhang, the mother-in-law of Rongsha village, Ping'an County, Kuzhu Prefecture, is diligent in running the house, intelligent and virtuous, and she has contributed to the development of the country by planting white potato. I will give you 1,000 taels of gold, a palace in the capital, 100 acres of fertile land, 2 shops, and the title of Guangenbo, which is hereditary. I admire this. Zhang Ning forced himself to calm down and took the imperial edict respectfully, but his hands couldn't stop shaking. My God! She, a woman, was actually named Guangenbo. Wasn't she dreaming? Not to mention her, even the prefect Ji Wei and the county magistrate Xia Yuchen were shocked by this title. This was the first person in the history of Kuzhu Prefecture to be ennobled by the emperor. Still a woman. This is really amazing. Dekang smiled and congratulated, Uncle Guangen, congratulations. Zhang Ning came back to his senses, with a humble look on his face. Thank you, Your Majesty the Imperial Envoy. This humble house is simple, please don't despise me, please come in. Dekang chuckled, this is not the first time that the Xie family has come. Guangenbo's courtyard is even the emperor's. We have all praised him, how could the Zhejiang dislike it? Ji Wei heard that even the emperor had been to Rongsha village, and he respected Zhang Ning even more. Zhang Ning invited them into the house. Luya and Sun Yan served hot tea, and the Yang Data brothers went to the kitchen to cook. Everyone sat and talked, and the main topic they talked about was the wild yam, which was named after the emperor. Dekang looked at Zhang Ning leisurely and said, Uncle Guangen, the emperor asked the Zhejiang to ask you, apart from making ruyi cakes and steaming them, what other foods can be made into this sweet potato? Zhang Ning is a chef, and this question really touched her heart. At that moment, she hurried to the warehouse and took out a lot of things. Father-in-law, wait, I will make some dishes for you to try. Looking at her mysterious look, even Ji Wei was extremely curious. The first dish is white potato with jam. Peel the white potato and steam it in a pot. After steaming, mash it into a puree. Add sugar and milk and mix well to make a hill shape. Then pour jam on top. The second dish is steamed egg with white sweet potato meat. Chop the white sweet potato into puree, mix it with minced meat and shiitake mushroom foam, add seasonings and stir, crack an egg in the middle, steam it in a pot, and add a spoonful after it is steamed. Steam the broth for a while, and it will be a nutritious and delicious dish suitable for all ages. The third course is sweet and sour white potato. Wash the white potato, blanch it in flour, fry it, fish it out, and then make a sweet and sour sauce. The resulting sweet and sour white potato is crispy and delicious. The fourth course is white potato stew, the fifth course is stir-fried white potato with seasonal vegetables, and the sixth course is steamed rice with white potato and fragrant taro. Dekang and Ji Wei tasted all the dishes and praised them loudly. Ji Wei even wrote a poem. Dekang exclaimed, these dishes each have their own merits. If you want to take a look at the jammy white potato and sweet and sour white potato, several empresses in the harem will like it. The emperor and the empress dowager like the steamed egg white potato stew with pureed white potato meat, and the stir-fried white potato with seasonal vegetables, and steamed rice with sweet potato, and sweet potato is most suitable for ordinary people. With white potato and sweet potato, the people only need a small amount of food a day to be full and eat well. Ji Wei and Xia Yuchen nodded in agreement. Zhang Ning pondered, I will go back and write down the detailed recipes of these dishes so that the royal chef in the palace will know them at a glance. In addition to these dishes, there are many home-cooked recipes for batiao. Although they are not considered delicacies, they are still good. Improve the people's food. Guangenbo is so kind, Dekang bowed solemnly. Everyone had a feast of sweet potato and the exquisite delicacies prepared by Yang Datu, which was considered a worthwhile trip. Before leaving, Zhang Ning presented tea-scented rice paper and flour-scented rice paper made by himself. Dekang looked at it and exclaimed, "This must be the paper the princess brought back to the palace. I didn't expect it to be written by Uncle Guang-en. Is there any problem?" Yang Santi was a little nervous. Dekang shook his head, "It's not that there's a problem, it's that the princess shows off these papers in the palace and has to take them with her wherever she goes. Several empresses in the harem come from scholarly families and are delighted when they see things. They keep making insinuations. The princess is doing this on purpose. Not to mention, several empresses even went to the emperor to beg for this. The emperor doted on the princess, and when he saw that the princess was not willing to speak, he did not force it. Unexpectedly, the paper was actually made by Guangenbo. When Zhang Ning heard this, he started to worry about it, and immediately went back to the house and took out a box. "This box is my special rosin rice paper. The method is very complicated. That's all. I originally wanted to keep it. Since the princess likes this kind of rice paper, please ask my father-in-law to take this box to the capital for me. I only have some tea-scented rice paper and flour-scented rice paper left at home. Can I take it with you and let the emperor arrange it?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 199. Seeing Zhang Ning's well-organized arrangements, Dekang admired her more and more. "Don't worry, Uncle Guang-en, Zajia will definitely bring her." Ji Wei and Xia Yuchen knew that the paper was so precious, so they immediately planned to take it back and treasure it instead of using it. As soon as the imperial envoy left, all the villagers rushed into Zhang Ning's home. The village chief asked tremblingly, "Datu mother, has the emperor rewarded you again this time?" Yang Datu said excitedly, "Village chief, this time the emperor conferred the title of uncle on my mother Guang-en. The prefect said that my mother is the first person in the history of Kuzhu Prefecture to be conferred the title of uncle by the emperor. How awesome!" Awesome! The village chief was dumbfounded, and after a long time he asked, "What kind of official is Uncle Guang-en?" Yang Datu was stunned and quickly looked at Zhang Ning. "Auntie, what kind of official is this?" Zhang Ning shook his head, "I don't understand either." At this time, everyone looked around and focused on Sunyo Mountain. "You are a scholar and know a lot. Do you know what this official is?" Sun Yuashan broke out in a cold sweat. "Everyone, this is a title granted by the emperor. It is usually a title given to the children of the royal family. Others are those who have made great achievements, such as winning battles and escorting people. This is an exception. It is not an official position. But it's even more powerful than an official position. Oh my God, he's better than an official." No wonder the county magistrate is so polite when speaking in front of his mother-in-law. An old woman covered her mouth in horror and said. Zhang Ning hurriedly said, "We are all in the village, we don't have to pay so much attention, it is still the same as before." The village chief shook his head. "This time is different from last time. I think your yard needs to be renovated." Everyone nodded in a serious manner. It was indeed a bit nondescript to see the sign of Uncle Guang-en's mansion hanging in the farmyard. Zhang Ning couldn't help laughing when he thought of that scene, but he held it back in the end. "Village chief, there's no need to rush these things. It just so happens that everyone is here today. Let me tell you that Erden's marriage has been arranged, and this Miss Su is his unmarried wife. Everyone looked at Sun Yan with some inquisitiveness, some envy, and some jealousy. Zhang Ning added, Miss Su's eldest brother just passed the scholar examination this year. The Su family will move to Fukan in the future, and Erden will also be in charge of Zhuangzi in Fukan. They will stay in Fukan for a long time. When the villagers learned that Sun Yan was the scholar's sister, the jealous people immediately stopped thinking. No matter how good their conditions were, they couldn't compare with the scholar's sister. Yang Erden, who is most likely to marry Lo among Zhang Ning's 4 sons, is already engaged, so there is no need to think about the others. After the villagers left, Mr. Yang, his wife, and the third family member still stayed. Everyone sat in the courtyard drinking tea. Old man Yang respected scholars very much, not to mention that Sun Yuashan was a scholar. He immediately felt that his grandson would be proud of marrying the scholar's sister, so he kept praising Yang Erden to the Su family, sometimes saying that Yang Erden was capable, and sometimes talking about him. Be down to earth and diligent. The good words from his mouth kept coming out as if he didn't need money. If it were another grandson, old man Yang would feel guilty to praise him so much, but Yang Erden has been with him for the longest time. The grandson and grandson take over jobs and work together, and their relationship is not like that of other grandsons. Comparable. Madame Zhou also heard old man Yang's love for Yang Erden, and immediately said, in addition to congratulating our mother-in-law when we come back this time, we also want to sell the house in Sangpu and move the household registration to Fukan. Nuashan also wants to go to Chu. I am studying in Shan Academy. I will probably not come back again after I go back this time. I just want to ask you, when is the best time for my 2 children to get married? It is said that children and elders are in order. Madame Zhou originally thought that her daughter would be engaged. She could take her time to get married, or wait until her son got married before marrying. Now that Zhang Ning has become Guangenbo, she suddenly panicked, fearing that the marriage would be delayed. Something unexpected happened after a long time. Old man Yang looked at Zhang Ning subconsciously. Old man, what do you think of this matter? Zhang Ning smiled and looked at Mrs. Zhou. Our house is already made, and it's not up to you to decide when we will get married. It would be great if we thought about organizing the wedding together this time. The busy farming season is over, and there are many people in the village. The most important thing is the manpower. I asked the boss to ask the flower shopkeeper so that the ingredients for the wedding banquet can be delivered immediately and the wedding ceremony will be easier. Wan Niangzi and Xiao have already prepared it for them. Can you see what is missing? Mrs. Zhou saw that Zhang Ning had prepared things early, and she felt that she was respected and favored by others, so she readily agreed. Old man Yang went to find a feng shui master to combine the 8 characters, and the auspicious time was chosen on the 15th day of the 12th lunar month. The 3 Su family members returned to Sangpu. They caused quite a stir as soon as they entered the village. Many people came to the door eagerly and looked at the Sun Yuashan brother and sister up and down. Oh! This is the first time I have met a scholar. It's really different after becoming a scholar. He looks energetic, a woman laughed, her eyes shining. Seeing that Mrs. Zhou only smiled and didn't answer, she said directly, Your Nyo Shanyo Yan is already quite old, so he hasn't said goodbye yet. It just so happens that my family has a distant relative who runs a shop in the town. His son and daughter have not yet been married. How about I be a matchmaker for your family, whether it is a daughter-in-law or a daughter-in-law? Let me tell you, does he have any money? I still own the shop. Ahem, the village chief and his wife happened to come over. They glared at the woman angrily, and then looked at Mrs. Zhou kindly. Congratulations, you finally got through it. Mrs. Zhou finally showed a sincere smile. Where? Thank you for taking care of me all these years. The village chief glanced at the surrounding villagers, who had to leave slowly. As soon as they left, the village chief looked at Sun Yuashan and said earnestly, You have grown up and are promising. It has been difficult for your mother these past few years. You must honor him well in the future. Village chief, don't worry, I understand, Sun Yuashan bowed solemnly. The village chief avoided it and said, one more thing, they say fallen leaves return to their roots. I know the reason why your mother came to live here. Although those people in the Su family are not kind, your surname is still Su after all. Your father is buried in Su family land, now they come to me, hoping that I will make peace, and that I am willing to compensate you, hoping that you will move back. To be honest, our village has finally produced a scholar, and I really can't bear to let you go, but I also understand that ours is a small fishing village, not your roots, and I can't keep you here. You should consider this matter yourself. The village chief's wife said to Mrs. Zhou, as soon as Nuashan passed the exam, many matchmakers came to our fishing village to inquire. Some came to inquire about Nuashan, and some came to be matchmakers for Nian. Some of them had particularly good conditions, and some were from wealthy families. I take a look. It's not bad, do you want to listen? Mrs. Zhou gave a wry smile and said gratefully, thank you for your trouble. It's just that the marriage has been decided and will take place on the 15th day of the 12th lunar month. The village chief's wife was immediately shocked, it's settled. Whose family does it belong to? She wondered if it was a classmate of Sun Yuashan. Sun Yuashan took over the conversation, he is Guang Enbo's second son. Who is that? The village chief's wife looked at the village chief in confusion. Sun Yuashan further explained, Uncle Guang En is Mrs. Muyi. This time Mrs. Muyi planted white sweet potatoes. The emperor just issued a decree to confer Uncle Guang En, the number one person in our Kuzhu prefecture. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 200. The village chief's wife couldn't help but take a breath of air and looked at Sun Yan in astonishment. It took her a long time to come back to her senses and said, I didn't expect this child to have such good fortune. It seems we don't need to worry about it. She couldn't help but feel lucky that some words were left unsaid. Madame Zhou still thanked her sincerely and said, Nuashan is going to Kuzhu Academy to study. Yanyan bought a piece of land in Fukan and built a courtyard. After she married the second son of Guang Enbo, she also wanted to go to Fukan to live, so I plan to sold the house here and moved the household registration to Fukan. Sun Yuashan muttered, the village chief reminded me just now that my father's grave will also be moved away, but there is no rush. We can discuss it later. So fast. Where did you get the money? The village chief blurted out subconsciously, and hurriedly explained, what I mean is that studying in Nuashan costs a lot of money. You should use your money sparingly. The land in the provincial capital is not cheap. Plus, it costs a lot of money to study in Nuashan. Building a house is another big expense. Mrs. Zhou looked at Sun Yan lovingly, Yanyan works in Zhenbao Pavilion. The hairpins she makes are beautiful and can be sold at high prices. The shopkeeper also gives her a lot of money. If she saves some money and adds it together, it will be enough. After Nuashan was admitted as a scholar, the government gave him a little money every month. In addition, he copied books for others, so he could save a little. The money left by the father of the child was enough. When the village chief saw that Madame Zhou had arranged everything in an orderly manner, except for the members of the Su family, he couldn't help but sigh, but said nothing more. Now that I'm looking back, I'll ask who wants to buy a house. You should leave after the new year. Mrs. Zhou nodded. After the village chief and his wife left the Su family, they sighed all the way. The village chief's wife looked pitiful. If I had known that Nuashan could be admitted as a scholar, I would have said marriage to his mother earlier. But now I have missed a good nephew-in-law. The village chief sneered twice, everyone thinks so. No one has the guts to gamble, there's nothing to say. What I'm worried about is the people from the Su family. They have been coming to our village a while ago, and they are sending this, and many people in the village have taken advantage of the Su clan to give it away. If this thing doesn't work, what if the Su clan comes to make trouble? The village chief's wife didn't take it seriously. They can handle their own affairs by themselves. If it doesn't work, go to the county magistrate for comment. It's none of your business. You are the village chief and you can't stop people from being greedy. The village chief was helpless and silent. 2 days after the Su family's mother and son came back, they learned from the villagers that the Su family had come to find them. Mrs. Jo sneered, and she was afraid that those people would come and cause trouble, so she simply left her home and went to Songzi town with her luggage and rented a small yard. The Su family members received the news and came to stop them, but they failed and actually got into trouble with the villagers in the fishing village. The villagers in the fishing village had done their best by accepting their benefits and informing them of the news. When they saw that the other party was cheating on them, they immediately united and beat the troublemakers out. After the incident broke out, even the county magistrate was alarmed. The Su clan members accused the villagers of the fishing village of being arrogant and cheating money. The villagers of the fishing village said that the Su clan members were shameless and plotted against Su Zioki. Both sides insisted on their own opinions, and in the end Xia Yuchen each played 30 big shots. No one benefited, but the Su clan lost their reputation, lost their wives and lost troops. Yang Erden only frowned slightly when he received the news. He didn't take it to heart at all. He turned to discuss with Zhongning, "Auntie, you are now the emperor's canonized uncle Guang'en. Do we need to buy some servants for our family?" Yang Datu and his wife looked at each other, a little surprised. They really hadn't thought about this problem. Zhongning also looked strange. "Why did you suddenly mention this issue?" As a time traveler, she is really not used to being served by others. Yang Erden explained the situation in Dongli Villa in detail. "My son used to do everything by himself, but later he discovered that many things can be done by others he trusts, and I only need to focus on what I want to do. Zhu the butler is as good as 10 people. Without him, there would be no Yuan in today. There are also Zhu San and others, each of them has their own role. I think Grandma has a lot to do. Our family can buy some servants to run errands for Grandma, help her deliver news, etc. With those people, Grandma can have a lot of things. More energy to do other things." Yang Data felt the same and immediately expressed his support. Not to mention Lu Ye, she usually has no opinion on matters at home and Zhongning makes the final decision. Yang Santi even took out a bag of silver and said, "Auntie, when I came back, there were a lot more people coming to the academy to buy paper from me. In the past, I sold a roll and you gave me 10 cents. Now, with me, half and half, this is the money I saved after I came back, it is enough to buy you a few servants, and our family can also buy a carriage. The carriage runs fast and is convenient for going out." Yang Sizhuang looked at it and took out the 100 taels that Yang Santi gave him. "That's all I have. It was given by my third brother, and I will leave it to Anyang to arrange." Yang Santi's eyes widened for a moment. "You're stupid. I gave it to you for going out with your classmates on weekdays. What did you use it for?" "But I don't like going out." Yang Sizhuang looked innocent. Zhongning was amused and giggled. "Okay. I understand your filial piety. It's not that I don't have money, and it's not your turn to come out yet. But since you mentioned these things, I will ask Miss Su to come over tomorrow. Come on, I have something to talk to you about." Yang Erden agreed and set off to Songzi town before dawn the next day to pick up the promise. Sun Yan thought Zhongning wanted to discuss getting married with her, so she went out with Yang Erden without much thought. As soon as she arrived, Zhongning exchanged a few pleasantries and looked at all his daughters-in-law seriously. "While everyone is here today, I have something to discuss with you. Miss Su is about to come over, so we can listen together. If you have any ideas, feel free to mention them. Our family now has several businesses. One is the restaurant in Songzi town, which is run by the eldest and his wife. There is also a yard there. There are workshops in the village for calcining shell ash and throwing adobes. The eldest brother used to be in charge of these. And now the second child is taking care of Dongli Villa in Fukan. I have a business of mushrooms, rice paper, and the third child is currently involved in this business. In addition, I have a title conferred by the emperor, hereditary, a mansion in the capital, a village, and 2 shops. Speaking of which, our family's wealth is gradually improving. We may have other ways of making a living in the future. I just want to ask you, how are these assets currently divided? They are all my children, and I don't want to favor one over the other, nor do I want you brothers to have conflicts over family property in the future. Yang Datu and others looked at each other and shook their heads. Auntie, we don't know how. Zhang Ning waved his hand, I'm sure not now. It won't be easy for you to start a family in the future. That's what I think. Listen to me and tell me if you have any opinions. Everyone immediately sat upright.